personally do my knives as frequently as possible. You really have to start off with sharp knives if you have any hope of doing either good butchery as well as good classical knife cuts. My preferred method is with a whetstone. Quarter of an inch stick, the julienne being a 1/8 of an inch stick, and a fine julienne being 1/16. We're also going to be talking about the large dice, so 3/4 inch cube, medium dice 1/2 inch, small dice being 1/4 of an inch, brunoise being 1/8, and a fine brunoise being 1/16. So I've got our potato healer here, and when you're in competitions, you can bring your vegetables cleaned and peeled, but as you go into the exam, they want to see what you're utilizing and how you're utilizing it, and that does include your trim. So I've set up 3 containers here. I've got waste, vegetable ash, as well as compost bin. So there's things that you can do even with your trim that you normally might not think about doing. So I'm going to start by peeling my potato right into the cheesecloth, and this was a technique that I learned from a good friend of mine. Instead of taking those peelings and throwing them away, you can wrap them in cheesecloth, and when you're making a potato mash, or if you're making an infusion, those bring a lot of earthy flavor, especially, like I said, to that potato mash. We'll start again by just getting it all peeled up, removing any impurities. You never ever want to peel directly onto your cutting board because it creates a little bit more mess you're just going to have to clean up anyway. Let's take these. Again, going back to that utilization, almost make like a sachet with our potato skins. You can also take them and do like a fine julienne and fry them and give like a crisp element to your dish. We'll reserve that guy for later, and then we're going to go right into our classical knife cuts. Before we do anything, we are going to square off our potato. Again, everything has a purpose and it can be utilized somewhere. So where I will use all these trims and scraps, that's where I would add that to my mash, or if I'm going to cook it and add it to a panada for like a sausage. So we're going to start off with our 3/4 inch dice. Whenever we call for classical knife cuts and we utilize them in the menu, we want to make sure that those are as close and as accurate. So one thing I've found helpful is I got a digital caliper, and I can go, if I know that 3/4 of an inch is my start, I'm just going to set this directly at 3/4 of an inch, lock it into place, and I'll actually go back and check just to see how close I am. And this isn't something you would necessarily do in a competition, but when you're practicing, you're really trying to dial it in. You want to get those dimensions as accurately and as close to what they are as a textbook definition. So we have our 3/4 of an inch dice. Now we're going to go on to our batons. Again, I'll set our caliper at 1/4 of an inch. It is a little thick, and again, that's when you're practicing, you're really trying to dial in these dimensions. it's okay to kind of go back, and it's better to take your time and really dial in these dimensions so that they're as perfect as humanly possible. And then from our batons, we also get our small dice. And next we're going to move right on to our julienne. As well as our brunoise. And finally, we're going to go into the fine julienne. This is an area you can use your knife, but I've also found it really helpful, especially during a competition. We talk about accuracy as well as efficiency. Being able to do these things quickly and effortlessly. Utilizing a mandolin is also a knife skill that some people, again, if the knife isn't very sharp, it's going to be very, very difficult to do this. And the more you practice, obviously the better and more comfortable you're going to get, not only with your knives, but you're going to get comfortable with seeing those shapes frequently, so your eye is just going to get trained to that degree of accuracy. Thank you so much for joining me for this part, and we'll be moving on to the next step. Enjoy!